focus of right now. Wilder, Fury 2, here we go.
Start with a continuation to a story that I covered in a previous video. The WBC explained their stance on the Alejandra Jimenez Franchon CREWS-DEZURN situation. We all know that Alejandra Jimenez got popped. We all know that what's in her B sample matches what's in her A sample, and what's in her A sample is what got her in trouble in the first place. But in my previous video, I talked about how the WBC might go a different route than the WBO went. The WBO officially reinstated Franchon CREWS as the champion at that weight, as their champion, whereas the WBC has so decided to keep the WBC title vacant and make Franchon CREWS fight the next highest ranked contender for it. I hypothesized that maybe the WBC gives it a belt back, or maybe they'll order her to fight the highest ranked contender for it. And to this, Franchon CREWS has come out swinging. She's not happy about this, folks. A very recent tweet uploaded earlier today, Franchon was quoted as saying, "Return the belt, and their side can ask for a rematch." Is my energy that powerful that a sanctioning body and a promoter that runs Mexico are against me? All I did was be a professional and do my job. This person only fought in Mexico. They needed me to be validated. And then when they had the opportunity, they cheated. You tried to build me up to break me down, but my foundation is solid and built on truth. My resume adds the fuck up to the job I got. I want to say that as a boxing fan, I wouldn't mind seeing Franchon CREWS square off against the next highest ranked contender, that contender being Alicia Napoleon, for what is the vacant WBC title. As a boxing fan, of course I'd like to see that fight, but that's as a boxing fan. From where Franchon CREWS is sitting, she's done no wrong, and there's no reason that the WBC shouldn't do the same thing that the WBO just did. Reinstate her as their champion. She's not in violation of any protocols. She's not in violation of any rules. So why should she have to fight for something that she already had and only lost on an uneven playing field, on uneven terms? The belt itself only changed hands in a contest that has since been ruled a no contest. The decision has been overturned. It's been thrown out. And if the decision has been thrown out, why shouldn't the belt be returned to Franchon CREWS? It's a legitimate question. I suspected that the WBC might do this, and I touched on that in my previous video, but what I didn't touch on is how Franchon might feel about it, and she's not happy, and I don't blame her.
How could I?
You know, after the fight, a lot of people suspected foul play, myself included. This was before the news broke that there was a banned substance found in Alejandra's system. Immediately after the fight, between the time the fight was over and the time news broke that there was a banned substance found in her system, a lot of people already suspected that there might be banned substances in her system. And in between that time, that small duration, the WBC actually went up to bat for Alejandra Jimenez, defending her against these criticisms, these suspicions of foul play. Yet, as it turns out, time has proven many of those people, myself included, right. There was more going on here than met the eye, and I happen to think that the best thing the WBC can do to preserve their integrity as a sanctioning body is to issue out a public apology to Franchon CREWS and simply return that belt to its rightful owner. And I say that the WBC should issue out a public apology to Franchon CREWS as, you know, the clean boxing program. It is a step in the right direction, and the WBC, VADA, they've got the right idea. But in this situation, they failed Franchon, didn't they?
Yeah, kinda.
The contest went ahead, and Franchon was none the wiser that she was competing against someone that was on something. She didn't find out that her opponent was on something until after the fact, after the blows were traded and all of that. The basic idea is to create a cleaner, safer environment for the fighters. How safe is it when Franchon was in there against somebody that was on something? The least you can do in that situation is issue out a public apology and reinstate that fighter as your champion at this weight. I don't think that's asking much. I don't think that's asking a lot. All things considered, this will rank amongst the WBC's more dubious decisions, of which there are no shortage of. If they don't give Franchon CREWS that belt back, that's just more bad press for them. You know what, it might not seem like much now, but all that negative press, it does add up. It does add up over time, and it could reach a point to where it's the fighters themselves that decide to forego the WBC route and choose to go in the direction of a sanctioning body with a little bit more integrity. And the way that could affect the WBC is they won't get to collect those hefty sanctioning fees they love so much. Not when you got fighters saying, you know what, I don't want to deal with this bullshit. We see what you did with Dillian Whyte. We see what you did with Franchon CREWS. This is an organization that doesn't have no integrity. I mean, for all this talk of prestige and the WBC being the most prestigious belt, or is it just the most recognizable for sketchy dealings? One way or another, there's going to be fighters that don't want to put up with this kind of shit. You know, I've long stressed that it really is up to the fighters to affect change in this situation, that if they so decide to go another route as opposed to patronizing the WBC route, that's going to force the WBC to straighten up and fly right, to alter their policies and ultimately change their ways. I mean, all that bad press, it does add up over time. This is just another chapter in that same book. In other news, per a tweet from Michael Benson, Frank Warren has insisted he's heard nothing from UKAD, despite some reports claiming they're opening an investigation into the Fury Farmer allegations. He added, if this guy lied, then they need to take action against him, because perjury is a criminal offense. And it's really no surprise that Frank Warren hasn't heard anything from UKAD as far as making any headway in that investigation, as the entire world
all of it
is at a standstill right now. They got bigger problems than some would-be pig farmer that doesn't actually farm pigs.
Wild boy, you cunt.
Pigs, wild boys, what's the fucking difference? The entire world, including the people over there at UKAD, they're self-quarantining right now. I mean, this is what's going on. So I don't expect that Frank would get very much correspondence
from them
in terms of headway. You know, where are they in their investigation? You know where they are? They're in their fucking house. That's where they are.
Why are they in their houses?
The hell you mean, why are they in their houses? What, have you been under a rock? Don't you know what's going on? They're in their houses hiding from you-know-who. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a pandemic going on right now. And everybody's at home self-quarantining and social distancing to prevent the spread of a contagion, a pathogen. So I don't think UKAD,
they're busy,
or anybody else, is going to get very far with any investigations they may have been conducting up until this whole pandemic thing, pandemic shit, hit the fan. That includes the WBC and what's supposed to be their adjudicatory process in regards to the Alejandro Jimenez situation. They're going to spend more time pronouncing adjudicatory than actually
that's a big fucking word,
adjudicating or investigating anything. Everybody's hands right now, they're tied. They might be tied for an undisclosed amount of time. I mean, we don't have an exact date, an exact time frame as far as when everything's going to get back to normal. We don't. So we're, you know, Martin Carefoot's little claims about the money he did or didn't get.
Fuck that.
That's pretty low on the totem pole right now. That's pretty low on the things to do list as far as what UKAD may have on the agenda, you know, the itinerary right now. Call me crazy, it's just a hunch, but I think they got other things on their mind, like everybody else. I do happen to agree with one thing Frank Warren said, though. I do. And it's that, if anything, UKAD and the powers that be, if they need to take action against anyone, it's Martin Carefoot. Because by Martin Carefoot's own admission, he perjured himself, and that's a crime.
He admitted to it.
You know, I've said this in at least 2 videos already, that when there is an accusation, the burden of proof isn't on the accused, it's on the accuser. Otherwise, Joe Blow and Patty Potato Salad could run around making all kinds of accusations about all kinds of people, and that could stir up all kinds of problems. That's why the burden of proof is on the accuser. If what you're saying is true, then you're the one that has to substantiate it. Otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And of course, the periodicals, of course, those rags are going to take their time out to talk to you because you're telling them something that'll allow them to print very sensational and salacious headlines to sell their rags. You know, I mean, we see the angles here. We see how this all plays out in the short term and the long term. But if this is to turn into something, it really is up to Martin and whatever evidence he does or doesn't have. You know, that's what's going to decide where this thing goes. I mean, Tyson Fury, he's likely somewhere boosting his immune system, for lack of a better word. Right now, you know, he's held up self-quarantining the way we all are. Right now, you know, he can't be bothered with what some farmer says he did or didn't do or whatever, you know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And I think that because Martin Carefoot's story, because the look of the whole thing looks a lot like a shakedown, I don't think that much time may go into that. Not in the absence of concrete, cold hard evidence that corroborates his story and substantiates his accusation. I said it before, I'll say it again. If all this guy's got is his word and his balls, then he ain't got nothing. Tell you something. It took UKAD about 16 months to conduct the investigation on Tyson Fury's Nandrolone case. That took 16 months. And last I checked, there was no pandemic at the time of that investigation. So how long do you think it's going to take UKAD and all their investigating powers to conduct this investigation in the middle of a pandemic?
Well,
I.e., call me crazy, but I'm not sure this thing goes anywhere. I'm not. I think that between the time that Mr. Martin Carefoot alleges he was promised 25,000 pounds or whatever it is, between that time and this time, he waited a little bit too long to blow the whistle.
5 years.
It might be too late for him to get whatever it is he's looking for out of all of this. In regards to all of this, Eddie Hearn had this to say. He says Whyte should keep a close eye on Fury UKAD situation. He's quoted as saying, "As I understand, it's going to be looked into by UKAD. I guess the truth will come out in the wash. As I understand it, the key witness in the case has come out and effectively changed his statements of what happened. I'll let them deal with that. If I'm Dillian Whyte right now, I'm looking at that situation knowing that if there's an issue with Tyson Fury as world champion, I become the WBC heavyweight world champion because right now, he was suspended while an investigation was taking place. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out." WBC President Mauricio Suleiman is firm in Fury's corner on the matter. The WBC does not act on gossip or media postings. Unless a formal claim is presented, then the WBC can intervene on any matter. And I'm not referring specifically to this matter about Fury. As far as the WBC is concerned, Fury has passed countless tests in the past 2 years when he has been fighting under the WBC umbrella. My personal opinion is that I would question the credibility that such alleged witness has, as he came out and admitted getting money to tell lies. Tyson Fury is the WBC heavyweight champion and has absolute support from our organization. Now this goes back to what I told you before. I don't see Dillian Whyte benefiting from this situation because in order for him to benefit from this situation, you know, Martin Carefoot's allegations, they've got to hold some kind of water. He's got to be able to substantiate that. And under these circumstances, given what's going on out there in the entire world, even if he could substantiate what he's saying, everything has been put on hold, including any investigations UKAD would have conducted to ascertain the information needed to levy some kind of penalty, some kind of charges against Tyson Fury. The bottom line here is that Tyson Fury is the WBC's heavyweight champion, and he will be for the foreseeable future, as this farmer's allegations predate Tyson Fury's reign as the WBC champion, and in essence, one situation has absolutely nothing to do with the other. Hence, Mauricio Suleiman taking the stance that he's taking. It's a tough situation for Dillian Whyte because this is a guy who's been waiting for a title shot at the green belt for well over a year, 2 years.
More than that.
Going on 3, could be. And even if and when things get back to normal, it's conceivable that he's still going to have to wait because when Tyson Fury comes back, in all likelihood, he's going to have that rubber match with Deontay Wilder. And even if he makes it through that, it's conceivable that thereafter he'll be locking horns with Anthony Joshua, further delaying Dillian Whyte's title shot at the full version of the green belt. I'm going to tell you something. I feel for the plight of Dillian Whyte. I really do. I feel that he earned his shot more so than many other fighters who got a shot at that same green belt. But if we're seeing anything here, it's a cautionary tale for any fighter who so decides to go the WBC route, that this massive waste of time could happen to you. Oh, the WBC might have all of their bylaws, their protocols, but these provisions basically empower them to do whatever the fuck they want. And that's what they do. And this might make fighters, think twice about going that route in pursuit of becoming world champions, as they will have the cautionary tale of Dillian Whyte to reflect upon, that you can go through the proper channels and win a whole heap of fights, and even then,
There's no guarantees.
it might still make you jump through hoops for a shot that you already earned, more so than many others. Dillian Whyte has a professional record of 27 wins, 18 knockouts, and only one loss, and that loss having taken place years ago in 2015.
The Joshua.
He's been on a hot streak. He's won 11, count them, 11 fights in a row. I think that if Dillian Whyte has been so adamant about going this route as opposed to going some other route with some other organization, it's because he firmly believed that he would be the one to defeat and unseat Deontay Wilder. He felt that he was the man for the job. If you want my opinion, and you hear, so I'll assume that you do, if Dillian Whyte stuck with this plan for as long as he did, it's because he felt, at least in his mind, that he had everything it took to beat Deontay. But Deontay's not the WBC champion anymore. That's the thing. So that effort that went into trying to pin that guy down is all in vain. Was all in vain. I mean, think about it. Tyson Fury's the WBC champion now. He actually got to fight for that belt 2 more times than Dillian Whyte did. Currently, he's the WBC champion. And you can't honestly believe that the WBC would prioritize giving Dillian Whyte a title shot if Fury beats Wilder in the 3rd fight. If Fury beats Wilder in the 3rd fight, the WBC's not going to let Dillian Whyte stand in the way of the undisputed heavyweight title fight between Fury and Joshua. And those are the breaks. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. I'm not telling you I'm okay with it. I'm just telling you what it is, that in spite of all the effort that Dillian Whyte has put forth so far, he's going to have to keep waiting for the foreseeable future to get that title shot.